Welcome to Toast Time. This week I'm making Pai Bao, which is a Hong Kong sweetbread. Before I go into too much, yes, these are all of the ingredients. There is a lot here, but I need to make the Tangzhong, which is basically milk and flour together, kind of like a roux, but instead of using butter, you're using milk. And I need to do that right now because we're going to be letting that cool while we get all the other ingredients ready. So I have the milk in my saucepan. I am putting it on heat. This is the flour and this is the whisk. Now, yes, all of these things go in. This is probably one of the recipes I've done with the most ingredients. We have the flour, milk, sourdough starter that I fed last night. This was 7 grams of starter, 35 grams of water, and 35 grams of flour. Then this right here, upside down, is to remind me that I need to put this into the dough when I make it. This is yeast, sugar, dry milk powder, egg yolk, sweetened condensed milk. I have a space here because this is salt that goes in after it's been mixing for a little while. I have another space here, and this is softened butter. There's a lot to do, so let's get started. This is already warming up. I'm going to slowly add the flour. I don't want it to get clumpy. I want it to get gelatinous. This gelatinizing of the starch is what's giving this kind of a milk bread, but it's giving it that famous really, really soft texture. Add the rest of my flour in. Keep that whisking. And it's almost done. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit too much. There we go. All right. And then, we don't want it to scorch, so we want to be careful with it. All right, I'm going to turn off the heat. And now this is the consistency of that's just milk and flour. It's nice and sticky, and we have to let that cool. Since I cooked it in this pan, I'm going to transfer it to a glass bowl. Glass because heat is retained by metal, so I want to try to not have that as a factor. All right, put this in here. I'm really excited for this recipe. I love soft breads. This is a 3-day process. Last night was feeding the starter, which doesn't really count as a day, but it's still a step and something you have to consider if you're wanting to serve this. The starter fed overnight. It's at its peak right now, so I'm very happy about that. Okay, there we go. There's the Tangzhong. I'm going to spread it out so more air can get to it. I'm supposed to cover it, which I'm going to let it sit for a couple minutes like this, and then I'll cover it up. I'm trying to get as much surface area so it can cool off faster. If I really wanted to, I could probably put this bowl into an ice bath. I'm not going to get crazy on this. I can always pause the camera. Okay, there's that. And I'm going to actually move these over now and put this here. I don't need my placeholder anymore. Okay, here's my empty bowl. Now I'm going to put the milk, starter. I'm going to need some help with this. Let's see if I can show you along the sides all of those bubbles. So she's alive and well. And yeah, that's perfect. Okay, going to put this in. I actually want to leave 5 grams because I put in 77 and some of it gets kind of left on the outside anyway. So I want to hold back about 5 to 7 grams. And I can just feed that again. I can add that back into my normal starter to make crackers later, whatever it is. I'm going to leave that amount. That is still working. I'm cooling down, of course. Then I have yeast. Sugar. Woo! Wow. Okay. That's all right. That happens. Slippery bowl. Right. Okay. Put this in the sink. Got mucky. This is the dry milk powder. There we go. Holding on tightly now. Egg yolk. Sweetened condensed milk. And then I'm going to mix this up. Let this finish cooling, mix this in, then the flour goes in. I cleaned up. I have my mixture here with my whisk. Mix this stuff together, these ingredients. All right, then it's going in, very, very sticky. But instead of just letting the starch and the gluten work in one way, we're giving it 2 ways here, and this is going to stabilize it more. So, like if you sometimes put some gelatin into your whipped cream, just a little bit, then it helps stabilize it. This is the same kind of idea. All right, try and get that mixed in without making a splashy mess. There we go. Wasn't as bad as I thought. And then the flour goes in. I'm going to put this on the mixer with the dough hook for maybe 5 minutes or so. Add in the salt, another 5 minutes, add in the butter, and then another about 10 minutes or so. The mixer finished with the dough. This is what it looks like right now. It's still very, very soft, and it's going to be, but it is holding its shape, and it's still a little bit sticky. I suspect it's going to get a little less sticky as it sits, but it's going to rise now, covered. I moved it to the glass bowl so that it had a nice even rise. It'll rise for 3 to 4 hours. And during that time, I'm going to be doing 2 folds of the dough. Basically, what that means is I'm going to take my little baker's tool. I'm going to go around the outside. Try not to deflate it, but I'm going to bring it up and to the center. Now, when you do this all the way around, it's going to create kind of a nice tight ball. There we go. And it will help strengthen the dough more. So doing this twice while it's rising is going to help it get stronger and stay together more as well. So you'll have kind of a ball here, and then as it relaxes down again and keeps rising, then you'll do that again. And after the 4 hours, we put it into the fridge. It's going to get nice and puffy during this time. Then we're going to put it into the fridge for around 8 or 9 hours. I'm going to put this on right now. And that was a weird noise. and then we'll come back after it comes out of the fridge. As you can see, it's now nighttime. This has been in the fridge for most of the day. The next step is to split it into 16 pieces, then put it into our pan so it can prove overnight, and then in the morning we can bake it. Right now I'm going to take a little bit of flour, put this dough out on the counter. Wow, you can see this really puffed up a lot. We're going to be pressing it down right now. Oh, it's all right if it deflates while we take it out of here. And since it is cold, it's going to be a bit easier to work with right now. Now I'm going to do 16 pieces. Don't have to be completely exact, but really as close as possible. Let's see. Make this kind of more of a, there we go, square here. 4. And this one is square, and do 4, and then all of those in half. So making this into a ball, I'm cupping my hand around it like this, and then using the counter without any flour to form a ball. And using the tension as I pull it towards me and around in a circle. And then these are just going to sit for a little bit. The dough has rested. I did some of them already, but I'll show you what I've been doing. Starting out by getting some flour, rolling it into a log. You don't want the log to be any wider than your bread pan is. I'm just trying to do about a 5-inch here, and then I'm pressing it out, then rolling it. So I'm taking it over my thumbs, rolling it up. All right. I'm going to lay them out right here right now because I have 4 left and they have to fit into that pan. It's going to be a little interesting. Rolling it out, pressing it, a little more flour, pressing it down, and rolling it up. You can do it towards you or away from you, whatever's easier. I find towards me to be easier, I guess. Last one. Rolling it out, pressing it down, and rolling it. Yeah, that's a lot easier. Now, these have just been put in side by side, kind of smushed as much as I'm able to. I'm going to push these in more and take 1, 2. This is going to be tight. 3. And 1 more, 4. It's supposed to be very tight. This seems a little wacky. Okay. All right. Now, make sure it's all tucked in. This is what we have.
Good morning. Now I came downstairs to preheat the oven for this, and it kind of went everywhere. It rose so much. So I'm preheating the oven right now. I just kind of tucked up the parts that are falling over up onto the top, and we'll see if this even works. Fingers crossed.
All right. You saw it this morning. It was overflowing. I tucked it back up and I baked it. Now you can see all of the nice bubbles that were formed while it was rising here. And the top looks very pretty. We lost the pull apart kind of feature of this bread, but I think it's still going to taste really good and be nice and light. Well, that worked. I loosened right underneath the lip of it where the honey syrup kind of stuck to this, but that came out very easily. All right, I'm gonna flip it over. Really light. Normally, if you see a loaf of bread like this, even when I took it out of the oven, I was surprised how light this is. All right, here we go. Again, we don't have that pull apart. It did overprove a bit, so let's see. Yeah, we don't have quite the flake. Well, there, that's it there. I think it just grew. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think it grew and attached to everything instead of having all of those layers. I'm not sure exactly what went wrong. Well, I know what went wrong. It exploded. But I'm not sure why because I did follow the recipe. I'm gonna have to scour through other recipes and see what other people do or how it works because the picture looks gorgeous. The top of this is very pretty, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. Let's try the taste. Okay, so it is really good. It's really light and has sourdough taste because it did so many fermentations. It's great. I'm gonna just try the top. Mm-hmm. The honey glaze that went on top when it came out of the oven is really, really good. Uh, it tastes great. I'll try it again sometime though, and try to figure out how to do it more correctly. But the texture is really good, and the flavor is yummy. Thank you for joining me. If you do enjoy this, please like, subscribe, all of that. Much appreciated. And I will see you next toast time.